Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. Today I want to show you my current progress on Anor Londo, which of course is the pretty much the most iconic location in DS1 for sure, but maybe in all of Dark Souls, to be honest. It's absolutely legendary. So I want to start here. I have not removed all of the baked shadow maps as I did previously a couple weeks ago. I'm now more targeted in my shadow map, baked shadow map removal, replacing it with dynamic shadows. Sometimes they can work in tandem. But I wanted to show kind of the issues that are sort of inherent to this engine. And specifically, they only really manifest in Anor Londo mostly. And I think that's because of the amount of sunlight. And so if you'll notice on the ground here, you'll see a lot of this. I'm not exactly sure what they call it, if it's like stair stepping, shadow atlasing. I can't remember the exact terminology for it, but you can see obviously here there are these lines that become less noticeable when you tilt the camera. And you'll also notice that when I rotate to a certain degree, the shadows actually degrade massively. And I believe this is obviously related to the direction of the light source, and based upon what way you're rotating the camera is what controls it. So I think I need to mess with the depth offset. But yeah, you'll see it's on pretty much everything. So it's a massive issue for Anor Londo. But, you know, currently I have shadow casting on the buildings, and so you'll see these nice dynamic shadows that are now being cast. And so, like, there's a lot of good progress here. You'll see, obviously, the dynamic shadows being added here. I did remove the baked shadow maps from these railings because they actually looked really bad. And they were angled incorrectly, as I have not modified the X and Y coordinates of the shadows, of like what the engine was saying was the default location for them, like their angling. But anyway, so you'll see nice shadow maps in here as well for the pillars. And it looks really nice. I've made sure to, I was messing around with the tone mapping settings to sort of see if I could fix some of the issues. I've kind of made sure that it looks similar to vanilla Anor Londo. But in here you can see it's obviously darker because there's no light directly hitting in here, but you can see the light casting from in here. And then I also removed the baked shadows from these railings and this, mainly this whole bridge, because they were once again incorrectly aligned to where the baked one was like over here. And then my new dynamic shadow for the little statue stone work is here. So it looked a little weird. I'm still investigating some other issues. Like obviously you can see this whole building is casting a shadow nicely onto the larger building over there. But yeah, you're gonna see those massive shadowing issues. Definitely work in progress on that. This building seems a little dark. Not entirely sure why, as I have obviously modified the tone mapping settings to still be the same across the entire level. So I don't know, I'm not entirely sure. There's also issues with the windows on those buildings up there are like overly dark for some reason. I have not figured that out. I've messed with shadow source settings, shadow destination settings, and it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. So I'm unclear. Now here's an example of baked shadows I have not removed yet. And so you'll see the dynamic one is here. And then the baked one, I think, is kind of right around here. It's hard to see, but it's like a little smidge or smudge. And yeah, it doesn't look so hot. So there are still things I need to remove. But now that I've figured out basically where the baked shadow maps are stored in the files, I knew where they are or where they were, but I didn't know which one was for each map piece. And then my dumbass realized that they're actually coded using the same map ID or map piece ID. So like if I need to remove the baked shadow maps from this bridge, I just look at, oh, okay, let me go into the TPF files for the textures, and then the coding will be the same for this bridge map piece. I don't know why I didn't realize that before. So before I was doing it, you know, for the entire map at once, which didn't make any sense. God, these guys always hit me. God, don't hit me. Okay, so let me go in here. It's also a little darker in here, as once again, like the way that they designed Anor Londo is like, there are no light sources inside at all. Like not even, there's just none, you know? So it's really, okay. Yeah, they always get me on the backswing on that one. So it was kind of designed that way, where there's just the natural giant sunlight that's hitting Anor Londo, and that's like the only thing that's lighting anything. That seems to be, well, and I guess that actually kind of makes sense, as basically the sun is, well, spoilers, it's an illusion, right? The actual Anor Londo is completely dark. And I'm assuming that's why they didn't have any light sources in Anor Londo, because when they flip the switch and you kill Gwendolyn, and then or you kill Guinevere to break the illusion, I guess that makes sense that they didn't, it's the same map. That's the thing. It's actually not a separate map. It's stored as the same exact map. They just turn off the sun is what it seems like. So perhaps that's why. So for instance, you'll see these nice new shadows that obviously look a lot sharper. I have not removed the baked shadows. So I think the baked shadows start like right here, and then here's the real dynamic shadow. And so there's some issues with that. I could remove the baked ones in here, but so far looks really good. You'll see there is an issue of light leakage here, where these statues are, of course, receiving light when they shouldn't be, right? And that is actually down to how this map piece functions. Rather interestingly, right outside these windows, like 1 or 2 feet outside these windows, there's actually another map piece that's only visible from outside that covers up these windows completely. And I was really mystified by this. So that one is used to make the castle look like correct. Unfortunately, it's tied to like the rest of the castle. So if I delete that outside map piece that is currently not visible, but from outside it is, it basically then deletes just a giant portion of the castle and doesn't look correctly. If I set that map piece to shadow cast, which I currently do not, that hidden invisible one to shadow cast, it fixes this issue where this object now, because right now it's receiving sunlight when it should not, obviously, I can set it to that and it should fix those. But what it also does is when you shadow cast from that outside castle wall, basically it removes these nice light cascades that are coming in through these windows, because now there's a visible shadow casting blocking castle wall that you can't currently see. So I can't use that because I think these are far more important. And so another issue with that is, let me go up the elevator here, and you'll see something interesting, which is essentially the same case, where for whatever reason, and I'm not entirely sure why, From Software on this upper level, you'll see once again we have these really nice cascades, but they're not actually meant to be there, as like you can see these windows are just completely you can't see through them, right? And I'm not entirely sure why they did that, as obviously I think it looks really good that the sun's coming through them, but it obviously looks very inaccurate with how dark these are. So for me, it's sort of like a trade-off of, yeah, the realism is obviously lower that I allow these to still come through, but I need them to come through on the bottom side. So the way that they have this all set up, and obviously you'll see this thing is receiving sunlight as well when it shouldn't be. So there's a lot of issues with that, of shadow occlusion by geometry, but it's the way that they've designed the geometry that it doesn't work. They're not set up for this. And so One theory that I was messing with when I was drinking, admittedly, but it was a pretty smart idea, I think, is basically I would drag over a different map piece to where no one would see it, mostly, depending on what angle, that would block the sunlight. Like, for instance, I would set the map piece, the floating map piece, to be basically on the outside of this wall, and then set that one specific map piece to be shadow casting. And so what will happen is the sunlight will hit that, block that, and then it would not hit this one very specific object here. That is a pretty bad option. That's a duct tape solution, but that's kind of also how the lighting system functions. So in here, I have not really messed with anything, and this actually looks fairly accurate. Now, I believe she is actually receiving sunlight, but that one I'm actually pretty okay with because she's obviously like the goddess of sunlight or whatever. And I'm actually pretty okay that she's receiving sunlight. Like, cool. That's kind of a happy accident where I'm like, cool, beans, you go receive it. That's fine. I don't care. But yeah, so those are kind of some issues that I'm having with Anor Londo for sure. I want to actually visit the inside area. So if I chug my Mountain Dew or Sunny D, I do think that this boss room looks particularly striking now. Like, it already had like the shadows, baked shadows casting through this, but I think the sharper dynamic ones look really nice. Yeah, you can see they're receiving sunlight as well. So the problem is the map pieces are quite large, and so if you turn something off for them, it basically turns off for most things. And so that's an issue I'm having currently that is pretty hard to fix. So here's the inside of Anor Londo, which you'll see is obviously darker, because now that some of this is set to shadow casting, the inside is definitely missing some of the normal lighting or brightness that it normally had. I'm personally pretty okay with this. So here's the outside with some more dynamic shadows, which I think looks really good. All right. And so yeah, you have more dynamic shadows that are hitting a lot of the elements here. Let's go down this one, because I think there's a difference. My memory's pretty bad. I need to look back at old footage. But from what I remember, a lot of these windows were not set up to be casting at all. Or, well, not casting. What I mean to say is they were not meant to be see-through. And like this window, I don't remember these windows you being able to look out on Anor Londo. I could be completely wrong. I need to look at footage again. But I guess I just don't remember looking through them like that. Because what I did is a lot of these map pieces for Anor Londo had a secondary duplicate mesh that was in the same exact spot. And so one of them would be shadow casting, like one would not. And it seems like they were doing that to sort of control if light would come in at all. But personally here, I think that like being able to see outside is actually a big benefit. So if we go in here, I don't want to go in that room because I think there's like an absolute ass load of them. But yeah, and then you can see there's a shadow here when there shouldn't be. Like, so there's still issues that come up pretty often. Oh, I'm terrible with the halberd ones. Okay, don't be like that. Okay, I have Gwen's sword. I can wreck. And then, I don't know. I don't remember these windows being able to see out of either. That's kind of just something that my memory is really bad with. So if it is something that you could always do, well, then cool beans. I have messed with the LODs, so more things are visible at the same time versus things just kind of popping in and out of existence. Whoop. I think this is a more natural look, but I do understand that the main complaint would be that, like, hey, you understand that this game isn't about real. Oh my god, Jesus Christ! Well, there's a big problem. Oh my gosh, this is why I love showing early footage of stuff. It's like a flashbang went off. Oh my god. So this seems to be some sort of draw issue. Oh, jeez. So here you can see some definite issues. Oh my god. So this is likely due to when you go in here, it's basically, it deleted something that it was rendering, or it just pushed it out of memory. And they obviously do this to save performance. Yeah, it looks like this is the trigger for when they completely stop rendering something that would normally block those shadows or the sunlight from being cast in there. So I need to look at that. That is a very random flashbang. Oh yeah, this is the downstairs area. I wanted to find the bonfire room. I'm always really bad at Anor Londo. I get lost in here all the time. Aha! So this room actually, yeah, so you can see out. I think my problem in Souls games is I don't look up that often, so I always forget if like you could see out these windows. Definitely tell me in the comments if like all of this was just vanilla and I'm, you know, obviously I'm clearly losing it. Ouch. No, there's a battle for the ages. I hate God, the halberd guys. I'm the worst at. Yeah, you can see there's a shadow there, which doesn't really seem perspective correct for anything, I don't think, but here we are. Oh yeah. Yeah, so there's definitely a darker aesthetic to Anor Londo, which might be less of a big surprise when you kill Gwendolyn, I think, because obviously that's kind of the big trick, though, is that, oh my gosh, it was just an illusion. So I could see people not liking that, but I don't know. I think I actually kind of like that the inside has a more uniform look, and it doesn't look like there's light basically everywhere. But I do need to fix this little occlusion issue where it flashbangs the hell out of you. But yeah, I hope this was just kind of a quick little look for people on kind of the inside of what it's like messing with Dark Souls Remastered. It's particularly difficult. It's a very touchy duct tape solution that they did to a lot of things that the game even functions. But I think I'm having good results in a lot of areas and then some subpar results. Like there's going to be trade-offs, I think, for what I'm doing here. But I'm okay with making some trade-offs for realism in certain areas when I think it visually looks better. And then the darker inside of Anor Londo, I guess, could be considered more realistic. But that's also a trade-off I have to make with doing dynamic shadow casting from other areas. So I don't know. I'm conflicted, but I'm also perfectly like, I don't know. I understand that it's not going to be perfect because of the way that the engine functions. I'm going to try to stamp out as many potential issues as I can, but I also think a lot of it is duct tape based. Okay, well please don't kill me. I don't want to end the video on a death, although actually I do end a lot of videos on deaths. But anyway, let's end on this balcony here with a lot of dynamic shadows and a lot of issues. But hopefully this is a nice look for you. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. It does actually help a lot, and I know that literally everyone is pestering you to do that. But it would mean a lot to me. And if you would share this video with Souls-related people or people interested in mods or Dark Souls 1 fans, that would be cool. And please comment what you think. What are your opinions on it? Do you think I should just not touch Anor Londo at all? And just leave Anor Londo alone? And leave it as what it was? And just kind of be okay with that? I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a great day. And I'll see you in the next one. And goodbye for now.